My name is Ian Scales, you're watching TelecomTV, and joining me is Joe Barkai. Joe is the author of a book called The Outcome Economy, which has made a bit of a stir in the IoT area, and we're going to be talking about some of the implications of that. Joe, welcome to TelecomTV.
Thanks for having me.
So that's quite all right. How the industrial Internet of Things is transforming every business is basically what the theme of your book is. The most sensible way for me to kick this off, I suppose, is for you to review your own book. Could you give us a potted and condensed version of what you're saying in that?
Yeah, I can talk about the principle. The principle of IoT, in my view, is to focus on customer outcomes. That is, moving away from what I call ever so often the product promise of the past, which focus on specifications and performance and cost and so on, move from that promise of the past to the promise of the future, which is delivering customer-oriented outcomes, whether it's personal or business outcomes. What do I mean by outcome? A way to describe this, and it's a quote I often use, is a quote from Theodore Levitt, who was at some point professor at Business Harvard School. What Theodore Levitt said was, customers do not want to own quarter-inch drill bits. What they want is quarter-inch holes. So the point is, customers are willing to pay, and maybe even pay a premium, for having known ability to achieve outcomes, whether they are holes or on-time arrival to their destination or any type of performance. But the point about the book is to move the conversation away from product specifications to business outcomes.
Right, understood. I mean, I suppose, just an early objection, some people just like to collect things, don't they? They like to buy things because of the way they look. They're not interested in the holes.
Yes, and of course, the idea is, even though we often say, and even the title of the book is, how IoT is transforming every business. Obviously, there are other opportunities. But the point is, and I think that you and I spoke about this earlier, it's providing better transparency for opportunities, creating a platform for different consumers, whether it's commercial consumers or personal devices, to find their own product, their own outcome, and having flexibility to provide better products and better business outcomes to specific demographic segments. Today, many products really address a broad market. And no matter how hard we try, we never know what exactly everybody wants. And very often, and I refer to this frequently as the myopic problem of organizations, is that even if we think we know what the market wants, by the time we're done doing market surveys and focus groups and go through this proverbial innovation funnel, by the time we get out there, the market has changed. Yes. Demographics have changed, tastes and preferences have changed, competition changed the market, a new technology came about, and we were locked into this funnel for the past 2 years. Yes. The idea about connected devices and connected consumers is this ongoing visibility and ability to change almost at a pin drop. I often say that connected devices and connected consumers give you the best ever focus group.
It's almost an analog to the big thing that's happening in a program, which is DevOps, yes, which replaces waterfall development.
Yeah, I agree. It's part of the same mentality of agility. Yes. Agility in development, agility in response to market conditions, agility in addressing a much narrower market segments.
Yes, and the feedback loop is much
correct.
quicker.
It's all about feedback loops.
Okay. Could you, I'm interested in this idea of transformation and the way that companies can use some of these principles to develop or completely pivot on their own product and turn it into something else. Could you give us a couple of good examples that you know of where a company has done that? Yes.
So the common example that everybody must have heard about is Rolls-Royce and Power by the Hour. This example has been around for many years. It's becoming a little bit old by now, but it's really manifests or exemplifies the notion of outcome. I'll give you another one from Europe. I find often that European companies are a bit more mature, if you will, about thinking. I often quote the Renfe rail system in Spain, where very quickly they moved their business proposition from departure on time and cost to on-time arrival. If you take the high-speed train between Madrid, Malaga, and Barcelona, and the train is late by more than 15 minutes, you get all your money back. Mm-hmm. So that's changing the business model altogether. What is important about this example is not only that, but how could Renfe even afford this? Because for most rail systems, this would be a losing proposition. Trains will be late, I have to refund all the money, that's a waste. So Renfe also has an agreement with Siemens, the company that built and maintains the rail system, to provide availability. So now we have two contracts that work hand in hand to provide a business outcome. So that to me is the essence of the Internet of Things.
Yes, and both sets of relationships do the same thing. They're about the outcome and not the delivery of the product.
Correct, and at the same time, they are phrased in different ways. One is phrased as on-time arrival, the other one is phrased as availability, not the same thing, but they need to work in tandem to provide this business outcome. And we're seeing similar examples in other industries, primarily in the commercial products around uptime, about improved efficiency, about cost reduction. So companies are certainly moving in this direction.
Okay, well I want to raise something that's always worried me about. I've been following IoT since it was a little boy, and it was really about its use, or its corrupted use as a way of obfuscating, if you like, the deal. So when you move things to services, there's a way of doing it and presenting it to the consumer that the consumer ends up running through a big checklist. Say he's buying a ticket to go to New Zealand, not mentioning myself by name, but that was me, going to New Zealand. I get the initial price, and then I work my way through all the options that I've got to do. And by the time I get to the end of it, I'm paying twice as much as I thought I was going to do. Now this is done in lots of different ways, especially with online commerce, because the providers have got all the power. They can spend a lot of time thinking cunning thoughts about how they can present this to you. Now I think that's a real problem, and I think that's going to turn off consumers eventually at all of these complicated offers. How do you think the industry should treat that as an issue, and if you think it is an issue?
It is an issue, and I've been a victim of the same practices, especially in low-cost airlines as you were, although I'm not convinced that it's an IoT-specific problem or phenomenon. But the point is, yes, is there a risk of getting this IoT, outcome-based approach, yeah, and turn this into like products and then go into price wars? There's always a risk of this happening. But I might suggest that if this is happening, that really means that we don't have enough differentiation in terms of services and quality. Because if we can then target those services to specific demographics as opposed to the entire population, we should be able to fine-tune those offerings and provide consummate value and cost to them. So instead of treating all consumers the same, ask what is your preference? Are you willing to pay more for better food or for a different seat? Do you like to sit in a certain place? Would you pay for that specifically? As opposed to this kind of broad approach of saying it's a low cost. I just experienced this recently. Low cost flight from the US to Europe, and the initial price was great, but now, okay, do you want to reserve your seat? Yes. Do you want to get a blanket? Of course. Do you want to use the bathroom? Yeah, sure, we'll charge you for that. But if they knew more about me and I was willing to share this with them, they could have tailored that product to me specifically. So it goes back to the point about having better visibility and feedback loops with specific demographics as opposed to treating the entire population as the same. IoT and the connectivity network and the fact that everything and everybody is connected gives you the possibility to tailor product and services by gender, by age, by geographic, and not only that, by geography, but not only that, change it as those demographics change. They age, they move up to a different income level, etc.
I certainly can see that. Well, look, thank you very much, Joe. That was great. Thanks.
Thank you.